1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or demonic machines, demonic machines, demonic machines. Live.
All right. Let me get this thing off. Oh, goodness. Let me put this down real quick. Oh. All right. Back in action. Did you want to switch back into mono?
Oh yeah. Okay. Back. Am I in mono again?
Yes, that sounds better.
Okay.
All right.
So, our guest, Jesse Lawson of Billy Rubin and the Elevated Enzymes, is getting sushi right now. So, we're just sort of waiting on him to get on the internet. Anyway, so while we've got you here waiting for
While we have you here.
Oh, fuck, it's supposed to be at 6. Yeah, so let's see what's going on. We've got a sale on demonicmachines.com if you use the code spring cleaning, all one word, on
Orders 100 plus.
Yeah, orders 100 plus, 25% off. Use the code spring cleaning. We've got great stuff on there. You'll love it. Oh, I'm a little quiet. How about now? Can you hear me now?
That's better. That is much better. Yeah. I thought it was me for a sec.
Yeah. No, I'm using a SM58 now. I had this like condenser microphone, but my ex-drummer finally took it back or whatever.
I got you. Well, you sound great either way.
Thanks. Yeah. I'm also recording through the big, huge recording interface I bought for my band that quit on me. So that's cool.
That do be happening sometimes, though. I've been there.
Yeah. It's like...
Ooh, real quick, if I can interrupt. So if anybody was interested, the intro was recorded using the Fucked Fuzz.
Oh, really?
Demonic Machines. Yeah, I used it. There's no bass on there. It's just it's 2 guitar tracks and then one with a what is it? A sub. Yeah, I used the sub blend on that for the bass as well.
All right. So we've got Jesse Lawson is in the
house.
Room, in the green room now.
In the green room.
He's grinning. So let's let him on.
Absolutely.
Hi, Jesse.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Welcome, my friend.
Just trying to do the show without our guest. It was fun, but now.
Well, we're all unorganized artists to some degree, I guess.
Yeah. No, definitely.
How y'all doing tonight? Huh?
Good.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think you might be just a touch loud on my end at the very least, but I could be
okay. I don't have really control over the mic. I'll talk a little softer though.
It's all good. You could show us the sultry side of things.
I talk loud anyway, and I talk a lot. Yeah. You guys might see.
That's me. Have you seen any of the other episodes? You're in good company.
You guys, I'll be interested to see who spends the most time talking in this episode. So, yeah. Jesse Lawson of Burt Lager and the Burt Lager. Billy Rubin and the Elevated Enzymes.
I'm writing the Burt Lager thing down.
Yeah, it's they're I would say it's like, I don't know, it's definitely got very heavy first wave punk influences to it. It's, would you call it punk rock, Jesse?
Well, it's certainly punk rock. You know, I think everything that I do is punk rock, because that's just my attitude in life. And but you know, I think Billy Rubin. The thing is, you know, I mean, and even the record, I think really is a little tight sounding. Whenever you really get to see Billy Rubin live, I think we come off more kind of like a no wave garage rock and roll band.
That's awesome.
There was actually a video I saw that I was looking up. I was trying to do a bit of research on my own here, and I saw you guys performing the Psychedelic Do-Rag live, and it was pretty raucous. It was not like the recording, so I have to say I agree with you.
Yeah. And you know, that's a real mild song. It turns out everybody loves the song. That's what the group started with, you know, a mushroom kind of party at my house. And
a lot of good things.
We started recording. You know, this guy says, "Man, I got this riff. Let's record it. We're doing recording all night." And he's like, "I got this riff. Let's record it." And I say, "Okay." So we end up recording it. This is Daniel Ola, who plays guitar with me. We record that riff, and it kind of kicks off into Billy Rubin. And it, well, at least made me I kind of had like this moment, you know, in this psychedelic trip where I was like, you know, I've always been this rock and roll motherfucker, you know.
Attest to that.
And the thing about it is that I grew up in the Delta, and you know, the town that I grew up in, the mayor while I was growing up was a guy named J.R. Rogers. And he was the touring guitarist for Sonny Burgess, one of the, you know, first or second wave of Sun Records artist in Memphis. And growing up, you know, Sonny Burgess would come to our town and play. And to be truthful with you, I kind of thought it was hokey. You know, I mean, all the old people liked it, and they would come out and dance, and it was kind of like very widely acceptable in the South to be like into this kind of hokey, you know, everybody was cool with that, you know, so I thought it was kind of normal. But then as I got older, I was kind of like, well, really, that's kind of this heartbeat of the Delta or something, you know, rock and roll. And those guys are really pretty, you know, kind of pioneers in a lot of ways that, you know, led to the punk, that, you know, led to punk music. I think a mix of stuff like that and Ornette Coleman, you know, probably led to a lot of the early punk rock music. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well, we've known each other forever, so like, I mean, I know that I know about your history living in the Delta, and like, you're in Little Rock now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas. What's that?
Would you say? Sorry, Siri just interrupted me. Did you? So, yeah, talk to me about the scene in Little Rock. Is there a scene in Little Rock, or is it really like Billy Rubin and the Elevated Enzymes, and then like a couple other bands?
Well,
Like,
the scene in Little Rock is really cool. You know, I think it's really thriving right now. But I'll tell you this, I think that, you know, a lot of what I think is really big in Little Rock is metal. We have an excellent metal scene, and those kids are super loyal, and they go to every show, and they pack them out. And we got good metal, you know. Pallbearer, you know, is you know, Happily, an Arkansas act.
Norma Jean, right?
No, Norma Jean's actually, Norma Jean's, I think that one of the members may be from out here or something, but they got their start out in Huntsville. Norma Jean practiced in the storage units that we practiced in out in Huntsville. If you remember those storage units at the end of town, Norma Jean had a storage unit two down or something. They'd be practicing while we were practicing out there.
Oh, right on.
That's pretty cool.
What was that, like Noxious Days, or like when was that?
It was after Noxious, but it was kind of probably, I guess that was probably Fight This Generation.
Okay.
Kind of days. So God, I don't know. I'm terrible with time as far as like history goes. But it was in the middle, I mean, I was starting to be more of an experimental person. I mean, I guess I always was from the start. In a lot of ways, the punks were punks, and I hung out with a lot of guys, and they were like very typical punks, with, studded leather jackets and mohawks and stuff. And I never really kind of fit into that much. I was always a little different, I think, because I was always progressive. And I learned early on that you didn't have to be 3 chords and a fast beat to be punk rock. I started to discover Fugazi at the drive-in, bands like that, and it just kind of, and Sonic Youth, it kind of let me know that you didn't have to be like this certain thing, there was a more art side to it.
Yeah, I think that I mean, I can really only speak to like an American perspective, but it seems like sort of what, like, the word punk means something different than it did originally. And one thing I bring up a lot is Crass and Gigi Allen are both punk. And so that word can't mean a whole lot.
And Crass, I mean, Crass is like one of those bands where it's like, well, you can do a lot with punk rock.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's such a broad and vast genre, and I think like in the 90s with like the Gilman Street scene blowing up, and you got Green Day and Rancid out of that, and then like there was also NoFX from Southern California. I think they're from Southern California. I could be wrong.
No, I think you're probably right about that. I think they're probably oh man, I don't know. Maybe they are from I don't know. Don't quote me.
Yeah. Either way, like it's like punk. I think really in the 90s is when that like idea of like, well, you wear studs and you dye your hair and all of this kind of stuff, when that really became like the mainstream understanding of what punk even was. I think about this documentary I watched on Chicago punk rock. And Steve Albini was talking about how he'd be walking down the street in the like late 70s, early 80s, and someone would see him, dressed like a punk, and they'd go, "Hey, Devo!" at him.
I'm sorry, I never heard that story before. That's hilarious. That's awful, but it's hilarious. That sucks.
I mean, Devo, I mean, that's what people thought punk was in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
Well, that's like the Mike dude, old Social Distortion singer there, man. Mike, whatever his name, Mike Ness. Yeah, he had that. I loved that live record. Whenever I was coming up of Social Distortion, they had a live record. I can't remember where it was at, but I listened to that thing endlessly. And that's another example of of rock and roll kind of being a big influence on me, because Social Distortion's really more of a rock and roll group than they are a punk rock group to me. Kind of that 50s style, right? But Mike Ness had a story on there. He said, you know, in the 70s, you know, if you were walking around LA with blue hair, you know, you were going to get in a fight. He was like a construction worker, or, you know, just some fucking asshole was going to fucking, you know, stop you out there and try to fight you. He says, you know, I was fucking 5'4" and I'd hit the biggest motherfucker there.
Best way to do it.
So, you know, I mean, I always thought punks were kind of tough. You know, I always thought, you know, the thing was, is I got picked on a lot in school too. And, you know, you either were going to be a good fighter or you were going to fucking hide, which is psychologically difficult to do, to hide, you know. It's more psychologically difficult, I think, than losing a fight.
I mean, so when you say hide, are you referring more in the sense of like hiding who you are, like hiding yourself?
No, not at all, because
Physically, right?
I would never do that. No, I mean actual physically hide, you know.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I had, you know,
Understand.
I was a nervous wreck coming out of high school. You know, I had there were these guys that, just really because I was different, you know, I mean, I never really talked to their crowd or anything, but the only thing is I was a punk rocker. And, you know, they would try to, you know, grab me and drag me into the bathroom, you know, to kick my ass or whatever. And usually it didn't work either. You know, we fucking threw some goddamn hands and they found out that your boy wasn't nobody to fuck with, or, you know, fucking, I got away from them. You know, I'm typically a pacifist.
I understand
And
that.
I don't want to fight anyone. So I will try to avoid something like that if I can, at all cost. You know, I mean, so that's that, you know. But I will also fucking fly. I'm part Southern outlaw.
Yeah.
It's the South in me, I guess. You know, I was raised that way.
No.
My dad would say, hey, listen, he would say, if somebody's beating your ass, just grab a handful of fucking dirt and throw it in their eyes.
If it's survival, yeah, absolutely.
Do anything, you know. There is no fair fighting, you know.
So I was gonna do a little like Nardwuar thing. Do you want me to do my Nardwuar?
He goes doot doot doot.
Fight this generation.
Oh hell.
Fight this generation. What is Fight
Yep.
This Generation?
Well, Fight This Generation is an early kind of art punk group in a lot of ways. By a bunch of by three guys. This was a guy named Keith Centers and a guy named do you remember Brad's last name? Or I mean,
what the fuck? I don't know. I mean, he was just Brad.
I can't remember anymore. But you know, some kids in Gunnersville, Alabama. And it was kind of the first art thing that I was into, to tell you the truth. I mean, you know, we couldn't play worth a damn. You know, none of us knew anything about music theory. It was like, you know, kind of that youthful kind of experimentation. And yeah, art punk, I guess light art punk, early attempts at art punk, or something like that for me. Young, 17, Alabama.
And do you know The Devil's Got a Hold on Me?
The Devil's Got a Hold on Me. I do know who The Devil's Got a Hold on Me. I went and listened to some of those recordings, actually. That is what Keith does now, right? Or, well, did for a little while.
I think
Yeah.
they're still together.
Yeah.
What was his name? Nathan Ball died? He was their singer?
Yeah. Nathan was a cool motherfucker, too. Let me tell you that. That Nathan Ball, man, was a guy who was very, like, early on, him and a few other guys around Marshall County, Alabama, were the guys that were, like, kind of getting me into early. They were real into the Cramps.
Yeah.
And the Cramps are like, I'm full circle with that shit. I mean, at first, like I said, I kind of thought, well, I grew up with shit like that. It's kind of hokey to me.
Mm-hmm.
But as I've gotten older, it's like, well, it's kind of full circle. You know what I mean? Where I've embraced it.
I hear a really strong, like, Lux Interior influence in the way that you sing. Like,
Well,
yeah.
and Lux is super influenced by, like, guys like, Gene Vincent or, those Hazel Adkins, if you ever listen to that. Early one-man band shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, Memphis sound.
Yeah.
The first Cramps album is produced by Alex Chilton of Big Star. He brought them down and recorded them, I think, in Sun Records.
I didn't know that.
And produced that record, the first Cramps record, yeah.
Wow.
That's full circle shit, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people don't realize that rock and roll is a Southern invention.
Didn't rock start from, like, the Delta blues and stuff, if you want to be technical?
Well, it depends on what you consider the beginning of rock. Like, when it stops being blues and when it starts being rock.
Okay.
I guess. But, like, I mean, Sun Records and all of that, that's in Memphis, right? And that was in the early 50s, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And then
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there are probably some Sun Records. I don't know. They probably go back to early 50s sometime. Don't quote me, but I mean, it's back there ways. Memphis in general. The thing about, Memphis, and even if you look back further than Sun Records, you got like what? You got like Sister Rosetta Tharpe. You got Al Green out of Arkansas. You got just so much. And Al Green's probably actually a little bit later, now that I think about it. But there's so much going back in history. I mean, New Orleans, Arkansas, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are major early blues states. And the blues is, I mean, the whole thing is a funny history, really, because I think that it's like the meeting. The South is really the melting pot, in my opinion, of the world. Like, where they talk about, we're going to be a melting pot. It's like, well, really, I think the South is really that. For instance, Little Rock is like 47% to 47% white versus African American. So it's like an equal city. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as, the numbers go, and a lot of times you don't run into things like that, and in other cities that I've lived in, the populations will be much different than those numbers. So we're a serious melting pot, man, of cultures, and a lot of the early Irish immigrants ended up, I think in Scottish people in the hills of West Virginia, and living off in the mountains, and bluegrass and African American traditional music and Native American traditional music all kind of blend. I mean, think about Link Ray. Link Ray is a Native American. He's not a white guy. He's a Native American. So, and that's early rock and roll. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, some people. What is this? What is the song that the Link Ray song that everybody knows? The blow blow blow. What is that called?
Oh, it's well, I think that let's see, the Link Ray song that everybody knows is Misraloo, and I think it's
I thought.
Oh yeah, that is Dig Dell. So what are we talking about? Well, you have to look it up.
Yeah,
I got the goddamn record.
I figured you knew what I was talking about, or like whatever. But I remember, and like kind of going back to like the punk thing a little bit. There was a radio DJ when that Link Ray record came out. That was worried that people would riot when they heard that really like slow, kind of sloppy Link Ray song that like is just like heavy in this weird surf rock way.
Yeah, it's the wow wow wow, boom 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 wow wow wow, boom boom.
Yeah, that one. And this guy was like, people are gonna riot when they hear that, and it's like, and this is in the 1950s. This guy had never heard Slipknot. Like what would that guy think if he heard Slipknot?
He'd think demons came out of hell and recorded an album.
Hey, listen, Lucky Deuce, give me 5 minutes. Let me run in this store real quick. I'm coming back and I'll join you. Okay?
Okay.
Absolutely.
I'll see you.
All right.
So, I think, I definitely think that Jesse is a little bit loud, but I can understand because I'm usually super, super loud. And the only reason this isn't loud is because I have the volume like dialed way back. So, but yeah, a lot of things. I was actually writing a bunch of stuff down. I wasn't looking at my phone or anything. I've just been jotting stuff down here and there because there's a lot of stuff that the two of you were discussing that I'm not familiar with. And it's stuff that I'd like to look into because as far as punk and stuff goes, I think my understanding of punk is like Misfits, Crass, Flux of Pink Indians, Rudimentary Peni, like stuff kind of like that. And then obviously the 90s, like more pop punk style stuff. Like I guess when Green Day first started, they were a little bit arguably, I think, more punk. But then obviously as you get more popular, you pick up stuff along the way that's like tools in your toolbox. So it's just interesting to me to be able to listen as an outsider for once, like a complete outsider, and just listen and absorb the information because it's been so long since I've had that kind of experience. So I'm just writing stuff down.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're getting something out of it. Like, I mean, this is, I don't know. Jesse and I have like spent many, many hours talking about the philosophy of punk rock you know, like
Yeah.
what punk rock is, and you know where it's like what its origins are, and like I don't know. Um, but yeah, I was. What is so? I was. What were you hearing? Any like? Could you place any like influences or anything when you listened to Billy Rubin?
All I knew is I really liked it. I
Yeah.
liked how different the songs that I heard, how different they sound from other stuff that I've heard in the past. And vocally, I was like, all right, now I got competition. So that was cool. It was definitely cool to get that experience. So that was fun. But yeah, I was actually going to say, oh, what was the first one? I think Crustacean was the first one I heard. And I was just like, off the bat, I'm just like, yes. So I checked it off. I'm like, this is definitely going to be a fun evening. But yeah, we were just
Yeah.
awaiting your return anxiously.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. Crustacean is actually my favorite off that record. I've considered putting that out as a 7-inch single with another track because I think it would make a real good punk 7-inch. You know what I'm saying? That
Absolutely.
with another fucking barn burner on the other side. That would make a good fucking punk rock 7-inch, I think.
Hell yeah.
So I love that song, and a lot of Crustacean is one of my favorites because it's got a very imaginative, Dill, and it's also kind of one of those Delta things. I mean, I'm slightly obsessed with. Well, I'm obsessed with the South. I really am. The thing is that whenever I was growing up, I hated it. I have to tell you the truth is that I hated this fucking place. But as I've gotten older, and of course, I don't live in a fucking farm town either, but even the farm towns have gotten cool. I mean, you go off in the hills out here and, you'll find a lot of old, weird hippies,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
who want to live in the mountains. I mean, there are places out here in the mountains where, they don't have police or anything. Like, they are out in the fucking boonies,
Mm-hmm.
with no, and that's a lot of people like that idea, that I can be like out there in these fucking hills with
Yep.
doing my own goddamn thing without any interference from any of this outside fucking world,
Mm-hmm.
So as I've gotten older, I love the South now. I
Yeah.
really do. I have a deep appreciation for it.
There, as another Southerner, I also I appreciate the South. I think I just uh sometimes I'm just like man I don't know how I stay I will always identify as a Southern person, and I'll tell people like I'm from the South, and then they'll go, "You don't sound like you're from Alabama," and I'll say, "What does someone from Alabama sound like?" Uh,
Well, I mean, there's like all different types of, even if you're in Alabama, there's like all different types of Alabama accents. You
uh-huh.
got you got the Southern Belle, you got the, whatever. I don't know. There's like so many different little Southern accents in every
Mhm.
All the Hollywood stereotypes, of course.
You really run across them though. Alabama though, I think I associate Alabama the most. I hear more people do that. You don't hear that in Arkansas that much. Well, very Southern bellish. You hear that in Mississippi and Alabama a little bit,
Mhm.
and that's kind of, I guess, the closest thing I could say that I would say is a true Alabama accent. Maybe you guys could claim that.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's a regional. I mean, there is the regional difference, right? Like Arkansas is more like mid South, and then Alabama and Mississippi is like the deep South, and you have different, cultural groups and stuff like that. And I don't know. I honestly have wondered for a really long time why Southern people speak that people or people in the deep South speak the way they do. Um,
It's a blend of everything, I mean, it's another one of those things where it's like, there's Irish, Scottish, there's like this African influence on Southern language, from the whole fucking, the whole mess that we have made. There's French.
yeah.
You come from Louisiana, you got a bunch of French
Mhm.
speaking, and that's why you get all that weird Southern, the not weird, but you get the different accents in
Uh huh.
Louisiana. Um,
People in the deep South also will call toilets commodes, which is the French word, which I
mhm.
always thought was interesting.
I didn't know that was French. I've heard that a lot. I was wondering where that came from.
It's French.
I hear Southern people say a lot of things that I, notice sometimes. I'll notice things on like English shows or, different foreign shows, even I'll notice sometimes like some real similarities between Southern speak and the way that other people speak.
Mhm.
Um, like, my father used to always say, I reckon,
Mhm.
I reckon. And that's and it was something that he said quite a lot. Um, but that's very, to me, that I think that's a very like, kind of like that probably comes from some type of Irish, Scottish, English thing. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying?
I mean, yeah, probably. Um, yeah. So, in addition to, oh, you know what we never went over was like all of your band's socials, all of your music socials and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
You can, check us out. We're Billy Rubin and the Elevated Enzymes. We're from Little Rock, Arkansas. We're on Facebook, Billy Rubin and the Elevated Enzymes. We're on Instagram as Billy Rubin's Elevated Enzymes. And we're on Twitter too, but to tell you the truth, I don't ever get on Twitter. I mostly like Instagram.
Yeah.
I think Instagram's pretty good because I don't have to deal with fucking all the negativity. Facebook, it's like if I want to get fucking pissed, I'll get on Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sort of my experience of Facebook in the last few years, definitely. And Twitter's an absolute disaster. Um,
We're on also, we're on all the streaming platforms. Spotify, Apple Music, Bandcamp, uh,
SoundCloud.
SoundCloud. You can go stream music. There'll be more added eventually. We're working on some more recordings, and I'm trying to, figure out how to make the next record. We're on our way to. We're gonna go to Louisiana. If anybody watching or watches this in the future, we're gonna be down in New Orleans on April 28th. We're going to be in Homa, and that's going to be at Sydney's Saloon. We're going to be down in Homa, Louisiana on April 29th at the Intracoastal. And
just a side note, that's where Acid Bath is from.
oh yeah, no, it's fucking, I'm really excited. This is our first time going out of state, really. And I kind of fought for it a little bit and got it on. I have some good friends down in Louisiana who helped me out. Tony Bergeron, he owns the Intracoastal down there in Homa, and they are really, man, it's a super crazy psych scene. I'm gonna send you some stuff. Actually, I would like to shout out one band on here and tell you about them too. There's this group that we're playing with down in New Orleans at Sydney's Saloon called Dummy Dumpster. And let me tell you, you need to check out Dummy Dumpster. I'm kind of a little obsessed with them. It's really good punk rock, art punk, you know, but it's super, super good. You'll love it. Anybody will love it. Guaranteed.
Hell yeah. I am, so yeah, while you were gone, Deuce and I were talking about, Deuce isn't, as familiar with punk rock as you and I are, and so he's been taking notes furiously and kind of like, you know, probably.
Is it okay if I smoke in here?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're one of those old school late night shows where you can like smoke cigarettes and stuff, and
It's like, here, have a
Probably
shot.
will.
Would you like a beer?
yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, that's so. Is it like you're going on a little mini tour then? Like maybe not. That's cool.
Well, we're coming back, and on April 30th, we'll be back here at a festival called the Daffodil Spring Festival, and it's in a little town called Melbourne, Arkansas. And I think that's, you know, kind of probably more of a, you know, a family-friendly event.
Right on. Well,
So that'll be interesting. I'm gonna try to cut back, you know, a little bit and do a nicer set, you know, because I mean, typically my set's just disgusting. So it's a very adult act, but you know, I'm gonna cut it back and try to do something for the kiddies out there.
You should do a balloon drop.
Maybe I'll make, you never can tell where you get a fan from, you know what I mean?
Balloon animals. Just hire a clown to be on the side of the stage and hand out balloon animals.
That would be, hey, or a moon bounce.
It could work.
Oh yeah.
Moon bounce is also a good investment.
They're actually supposedly this festival, this Daffodil Spring Festival in Melbourne, Arkansas, is they're having some wrestling out there. Oh yeah.
Right on.
Gotta get that
wrestling?
wrestling in there.
like Greco-Roman wrestling or like wrestling?
Wrestling.
Like wrestling.
Oh,
Like
okay.
wrestling. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They you know, there's a little pizza place here in town called Vino's. You may have been there, Lucky. But the place is a little punk rock joint.
Nice.
Here in Little Rock, and it's been around for a long, long time. A lot of good bands have played there. But here about a month ago, I guess, you know, probably they had a goddamn wrestling match in there. They brought a whole goddamn fucking wrestling fucking you know, whatever the fuck you call it, the huge fucking thing they wrestle on. Brought it into fucking Vino's, and it was like fucking a punk rock wrestling match, man. I didn't go, but I'll tell you what, I saw pictures of it, and it looked like I would pay my money to go if it came around again. It looked like a fucking fun time.
Hell yeah. That sounds awesome. And
That's one I didn't think I'd ever see pair together is like wrestling and punk rock. I mean, just because at least in my area, because I'm on the East Coast, a lot of the like punk people around here and like more of the folks that would be interested in wrestling don't really gel too well. So to me, it's like oil and water. So see the whole fish out of water thing, like I am contextually different.
Something that you have to understand about wrestling is that wrestling is a very Southern thing. Okay. You look at a lot of the early wrestlers, they were from the South, and that the wrestling is not about, you know, wrestling is whenever you have these wrestlers that say wrestling's real, here's the deal. Wrestling is real. These guys are throwing each other around, but they're also actors,
Absolutely.
you know, and it's about this art thing too. And that's why you run across so many of these wrestlers who are really, it's like, would you call it an art or not? And to me, I think it is an art. You know, it's guys who want to act, and they have figured out like this knack they figured out a thing in the South how they could sell people shit and kind of get their artistic kicks.
Wrestling.
Yeah, there's a
Hell yeah.
Machines pedal, the Hulk booster.
Yep.
If I may interject in the middle of the wrestling speech, so I have this on my board, Lucky. Right before I have Nick's Vanilla Sex pedal, and the two of these, like, I could throw everything else off my board and just be like, there you go. I could do a whole show just this.
If you run that Hulk booster into any distortion or fuzz,
It's like a secret extra setting on any pedal using this in front of it. It's crazy.
That's
Especially when
that's the clean boost, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a MOSFET.
Yeah, I've really been thinking about grabbing one of those. You know, the truth is I'm not like a real. I try a lot of pedals, and then I end up going like, oh, I don't like it. I can't get a good sound on it. And what I've generally come to the conclusion of is that I like a good fucking solid Fender sound, a little broke up, kind of just natural, you know. And if I'm going to use a distortion, I would use something that just boosts it. But it's the same sound, you know, but I need a boost every now and then.
This is definitely that.
To do something. Yeah, exactly. So I think that clean boost is going to be right up my alley. I want to try that.
You should get a corn buffer as well.
Yeah.
Really? Now, what does the corn buffer do?
A buffer is a zero gain amplifier, basically. So what it does is it takes your signal and then it replicates it, and then puts out a lower impedance signal so that your signal doesn't get all dark and stuff through cable capacitance and stuff like that. It's effectively shortening your cables and getting your making sure you don't lose any like high end.
It keeps you fresh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you don't use a lot of pedals, honestly, it's not that important.
But it looks great.
But it does look cool. But yeah. I mean,
hey, that's 9/10 of the show, man.
Yeah, it really is.
You too.
That's like, I mean, like, I sold so many of those corn buffers, and I'm just like, y'all, I make killer fuzz pedals, like.
It's true.
But
are you supposed to put a buffer? You can't put a buffer in front of a fuzz, is that right?
It depends on the fuzz.
Yeah.
So older style fuzzes, so 1, 2, and 3 transistor fuzzes, are the kind of fuzzes that you don't want to put a buffer in front of because it'll just mess with it. You can put a buffer in front of a big muff, and that works fine. What? Oh, okay.
I'm holding my phone with one hand and my lighter with the other. I only have two hands, so I have to hold the phone and the pipe. I'll just show you my
we were
chin.
getting an extra Valentine's Day present.
Take a look at this chin.
Look at that. That's a nice chin. That's a nice mustache.
That is a nice mustache. I'm jealous.
Yeah.
Mine's just wispy and like transient-ish.
I get it from my daddy. He had a good mustache. I can't grow a beard worth a fuck.
I mean, this is patchier than it looks in real life, so the camera's your best friend.
Yeah, so I really want to get one of those Hulk boosters. I've enjoyed the fuzz pedal. I got kind of a custom Demonic Machines fuzz pedal
Pray
that
tell.
is a Fuzz Factory.
Mhm.
It's a double pedal. It also has a Marshall Plexi circuit, sort of, emulation. And it also has another cool feature, which is a pickup
Very nice.
kind of emulation, whatever they call that.
Mhm.
I think emulation's probably a pretty good word for it, though, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So either way, that pedal it rules. But that Fuzz Factory is a hard one. That circuit is a hard one to learn how to work with because you kind of have to everybody's looking at you funny because it's like going.
Well, that's a
And
fun
I'm like looking back at him going like, hold on guys, just give me a minute here. Let me adjust. Let me adjust it a little bit. I thought about putting a gate after it.
Yeah. That could help clean it up some, definitely. Do you know what circuit the Fuzz Factory is based on?
It is based on the Fuzz Face.
Yes, it's based on a fuzz face, and like the fuzz face has two knobs. And what I always tell people because everyone says the same thing about the Fuzz Factory is like I have to dial it in and it's going the whole time, and all of that. And the reason the fuzz face had fixed resistors is because those resistors needed to be fixed. And if you adjust them all over the place, you're going to get oscillation and crazy noise and shit like that,
Yeah.
And I honestly, Zachary Vex is a genius for coming up with the idea. But like, it's one of those ideas where I'm just like, you motherfucker. You didn't even really invent anything. He just figured out you could put knobs in places where there aren't
to
knobs.
adjust shit.
Yeah.
like reinventing the wheel, but not even. It's just like we're gonna add extra components to the wheel that were normally fixed. Like instead of the spokes on the wheel, it's like no, you got little wheels there too, so everything just rotates and moves around.
Wheels and
Yep.
wheels and wheels.
Well, I like the ZVEX stuff pretty good, that I've used. I've had a good time with it. I had or right now, actually, no, do I have that on my board right now? I had a Lo-Fi Junkie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think if which I like quite a bit. I think that there are a few pedals that have kind of this similar thing in common. There's the Lo-Fi Junkie, or two pedals really, and then the Chase Bliss Warped Vinyl.
Oh my god, yeah, that's a great pedal.
That Chase Bliss, I had it for a while, and I'll tell you the truth. I'm a fool, and I go through phases, and I traded it to somebody for something else, and I don't know what I did. I don't know what I traded it for, but I'll tell you this: it wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
That pedal rules, and I miss it so much since then. Right now, I know what I'm playing with on my board. I have the Instant Lo-Fi Junkie
Okay.
on my board right now, and it's a good pedal. I think the thing with it is that it gets a lot fucking darker than the Chase Bliss. The Chase Bliss will keep your tone kind of more intact.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen this? Well, it's have you seen this Chase Bliss pedal?
Yes, I have seen it. The Habit.
Yeah, the Habit.
I've seen the pedal, but I haven't used it. But I mean, I love the Chase Bliss stuff. I really do. I mean, I have to give a huge shout out to that dude who makes those pedals. He seems like a good guy,
Mm-hmm.
and for one, on his videos, and The other thing is the pedals are very creative.
Yeah.
You know, all the dip switches and options that come with it are very, you know, it's cool. You can do a lot,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
And it's definitely overwhelming at first. Like when I got the habit, it just sat around for like a month, and then finally I printed off the manual, and the manual is like an activity book, and you just go through the activity book and you learn how the pedal works by doing the activity book.
Well, you know, the thing about music stuff in general for me is always the same thing, you know. I mean, now don't get me wrong, something like a guitar amp doesn't come with a manual.
Mm-hmm.
Really. But, you know, everything in recording that I use, I've read the manual almost front to back.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the way that you have to learn it. You know, if you don't have somebody there showing you how to do it, then you just have to like go through the manual and follow the steps until it's ingrained in you, and then keep doing it every day until you remember it for good. You know what I mean? But at first it's always, you know, you got to read the whole manual to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with microphones or anything. If I'm recording with a microphone, you know, I look at the, you know, I try to look at the charts and see what the manufacturer says the specifications are on the capture, the wave, what it does. You know, does it scoop out at 1.5K? Does it have a boost here? Does it have what? You know what I'm saying? In order to understand what I'm trying to get with the sound of it, you know. And I think that's why the Neumann mics are so popular. And so I think, you know, I think the thing with a mic is that the perfect mic wants to almost have a flat line across the EQ where what you're getting is completely accurate. And you know, the Neumann stuff, you know, some of the 87s and 67s there, I think get pretty damn close to shit like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Plus they sound real sweet. But, you know, that's the thing with music manuals. You better read a manual.
I'm guilty of that.
Was the Neumann 67, was that the one that you were telling me I should build?
Yeah, well, I mean, honestly, I think anything in recording is a pretty good endeavor, you know, and I think that any journey in recording is a good endeavor. Recording is like having the printing press right at your hands,
Mm-hmm.
at your fingertips, and no one can shut it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, you know, I think recording is such an important thing, no matter what it is that you're even recording. And, you know, I think that any endeavor into recording, the U67 by Neumann is a mic that I would love to have a really good clone of that. And it's basically a U87, but it's a tube mic. The U87 is not a tube. The U87 is, I'm assuming FET, you know, of some type or whatever. But don't quote me on that either. And the U67 is, you know, got that tube thing going on. So, they're very expensive.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking up microphone kits after you hit me up that one time and were like, you should try building this mic or whatever. That's usually where I start when I want to learn to build a new type of thing.
Absolutely.
Those kits are like $300, $400, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like oh my god, like, I mean, I'm sure those mics are probably like $2,000 or some shit. Like,
It's still a lot.
right?
You talking about to buy an actual one?
Yeah, to buy an actual one.
Oh no, probably, you know, if you want an original U67, you know, you might luck out and find a pair of them for $10,000,
Oh,
5,000 a piece.
Jesus.
If you want, I think that they might have made. I don't know. Maybe they have a U67 model that they made later. I'm not sure if they did. I know the U87 is still available in a kind of like, it's not the same exactly as the vintage, but it's still a pretty goddamn good mic from what I understand. Those are $3,500 from Sweetwater new. So there are a couple of companies out there that are cloning mics. I mean, that's the thing is that, a microphone like a U67, if you built a good formula for the U67, people will buy it, but it would probably cost a little money. I mean, even if you get a clone of a U67, people pay, I think probably $1,500 or $2,000 or sometimes even more for a good clone, of a U67. So you could probably, it's still probably one of those things where it's an okay like investment, because of the cost of them.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely something I want to pursue. I mean, I want to learn to build everything,
Well, I'm really thinking about getting into building shit too.
You should. It's so much better than buying shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very true. That's what I need to get into as well.
I'm not as much into pedals. A lot of people have pedal fetishes, and the truth is I've always used some pedals. But I'm not, a super pedal enthusiast. I really like preamps for microphones. Mm-hmm. I would like to build a good tube DI for bass guitar to DI in, but a tube model. Mm-hmm. Some little things like that. I would also kind of like to do some smaller amps. I'm obsessed with small amps.
Yeah. Have you've seen the amp I built recently, right?
Yeah, and I saw on your website that you were going to sell some of those.
Yeah, I mean, well, if anyone buys them, I mean, I can put them for sale, but no one's bought one yet.
It's a good circuit, so I mean, if you can get somebody to build you a high quality circuit of a guitar amp, it's really well worth the endeavor. Unless obviously, unless you're going to build it yourself, and I think all of us here probably support that thing too. Mm-hmm. But the boutique amp thing is it's a cool deal, man. And it's worth it to have a good original circuit. Mm-hmm. That isn't going to likely fail you for a long time. Tube amps really last a long time. A friend and I were talking about this the other day. He said, well, this guy has this amp that's a 70s model, and he says he's never taken it to a tech and he's never changed a tube. And I was like, well, look, I mean, I've bought many vintage Fenders that had pretty sure the original tubes and everything in them. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of the way, tubes last a long time. Mm-hmm. Especially if you're not a punk rock player and you're not pushing them extremely hard.
Yeah, definitely.
We break them because we push them to the limit.
I mean, but what's rock and roll worth if you're not pushing it to the limit?
Absolutely.
Isn't that how they discovered rock and roll? By pushing old amps to the limit?
Yeah, I mean, that was basically where the sound came from. They just
trying to emulate the sound of a saxophone.
Yeah.
That's that's really, I mean, that's, really the basis for distortion, in my opinion, is, trying to emulate what a saxophone naturally has, this natural distortion. Mm-hmm. You go listen to a saxophone solo, it'll blow you down. And it'll fuck you up. It's like I was watching this interview with this guy the other day. He said that he was in a club and oh fuck, I can't remember the story. Well, the story is this. Look, here's the deal. There was a famous jazz saxophone player, and maybe it was Thelonious. No. Don't get me fucked up here. Either way, this famous jazz saxophone player. He said that he had gotten sick and he was in the stall in the bathroom. They were doing a show, and he was in the stall in this bathroom, and he said the dude came blowing through the fucking door of the bathroom and was just going fucking bananas. And what it was is he was sick because he had eaten some psychedelics. And he said this guy was just going fucking bananas on that saxophone, just ripping, like fucking ripping it. And he said it was probably the most psychedelic experience that he had ever had in his life.
I can imagine that. Just being there would probably change your perception of things just a little bit.
But who is it? What they kind of credit, I guess. What, the Kinks?
Because of the speaker cone thing.
Yeah,
right.
Their speakers. But I mean, those old blues guys would turn their amps up till they distorted. So
absolutely.
But the Kinks. I mean, I guess the Kinks were like the first known case of someone like ripping holes in their speaker to make it sound more fucked up,
Yeah.
And then what? The next thing was the whole fuzz tone situation with that blown.
Blown
Yeah.
transistor and the mixing console.
Yep.
And then that's where the Maestro fuzz tone came from. And
Which ended up turning into that ended up turning into the circuit for oh gosh, what is this? The Tone Bender. The Maestro fuzz
I'd have to
is
schematic to see that.
yeah, well, no, this is I'm fairly certain that this is a fact, is that the Maestro fuzz nobody liked.
Oh yeah, no, everyone hated it. It has no sustain.
And so one came up in England.
Soul of Sound, right?
Maybe so. And the story is, I guess, that a guy picked it up and fucking tweaked it out and made the Tone Bender. And that's where the Tone Bender comes from, is directly a descendant of the Maestro fuzz.
Confirmed.
Right on.
Is it confirmed? Yeah, is that true?
In the comments saying that it's true, so yeah.
Yeah, we got to believe the comments. It's.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, Lewis Wingrove says that you were correct, and I'll take. I mean, I'm probably gonna look it up later, but I mean,
well, it's a fun hole to dive into, anyway. So dive in, and that's the story of the Tone Bender.
Nice.
So,
see, yeah, I
actually got that. I have to credit Josh over at JHS for that.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Josh does a show where they go over to England. It's him and the guys from that pedal show.
I've seen that one, yeah.
And they go over to England to find the, true Tone Bender,
Accurate.
So that's where I learned all that.
Yeah,
it's useful.
That's where that was honestly like I started building pedals because like I watched Josh's show and he was just like, you can build any circuit, and I was like, oh my god, I can build any circuit.
I mean, really, it's not even really. I haven't jumped in yet, but I've been involved. Like, look, I'm a very good tape machine tech. You know, and I've taken some tape machines, you know, completely apart and repaired, you know, things that were wrong. Successfully. And I've kind of repaired things over time a little bit. And I have enough knowledge, though, that I understand, like, you know, I can look at the circuit and I go, okay, well, look, you know, this champ circuit is simple. You know, it fucking comes in through the input, goes through the fucking 12AX7 fucking twice, and fucking goes back to the fucking power tube and out to the output transformer. You know what I'm saying? With some fucking resistors in the middle to fucking make the goddamn signal, you know, a little more pure or a little easier to handle or whatever, you know.
Make it more guitar.
It's like
Yeah.
seasoning when you're baking. You got to have some of them speckled in there.
So,
The idea is simple, though, right? You know, I mean, that's and really, it's another thing is that Leo Fender, you know, the very first Fender designs come from an RCA brochure.
mhm,
RCA was selling tubes,
mhm.
and they sent out a brochure that said, "This is what you can do with tubes." And Leo Fender built Fender amps off of that brochure from RCA.
Mhm.
So this isn't even, you know, it's something that's very, I think, you know, it's very like pioneerish. It's very like crafty, you know. I mean, like doing this work with your hands, putting together these little circuits, you know, not having someone, a lot of people will kind of get scared about the idea that, you know, capacitors can hold a charge,
Mhm.
and get scared out of it. And don't get me wrong, like a capacitor can hold a charge, but it's not extremely difficult to discharge a capacitor.
Mhm.
And it's not that difficult to go through and discharge every capacitor before you work on something. So, you know, I mean, as long as you just look up how to be careful, you know, you can build all these things yourself, just like Leo Fender did.
Mhm.
or just like these guys who, you know, fucking Les Paul.
Mhm.
You know, Les Paul is the godfather of recording.
I didn't know that.
You know, Les Paul and them invented the multi-track tape machine.
I did
Like,
not know
I mean, straight the fuck up. So we have them to thank that we even have multi-track recording at all. Fucking, you know, Les Paul is kind of, or yeah, Les Paul, yeah. Mhm. So that's it's interesting, man. You know, it's guys that were, if you learn how to build shit like this, you can start to experiment maybe a little bit and you can make cool shit.
Mhm.
I feel like this should be a recurring segment where it's like music history with Jesse. Like legit, because
You
I
know,
feel like I'm like in a college course right now, and I'm just chilling. I'm writing notes. I'm like RCA catalog. You can
hell,
do it.
I'll bet I could trick them in. I'll bet I could trick them into hiring me somewhere.
Probably.
I mean, do it. So we're about 15 minutes over. Show usually runs for about an hour. Does anybody have any questions for Jesse in the comments before we go? No? Okay.
Hey guys, check out Billy Rubin and the Elevated Enzymes. I'm so happy to have been here. Lucky and I go back so goddamn far that you have no fucking clue, and there isn't even, you know, some things that we've experienced together are things that you cannot write or articulate in a way that's worth telling. And it's all just left in your brain for you to fucking absorb for the rest of your life.
I try to explain the hate trip to people sometimes.
You can't, it's not something you can really articulate, in a way. I mean, maybe there's some writer out there, or maybe someday I'll be so goddamn inspired, or you'll be so fucking inspired that we can sit down and write a fucking novel or something, and try to figure out some way to express the thing,
The thing. Yeah. Well, it's been great having you on, Jesse. Thank you for joining us. And like he said, check out Billy Rubin and the Elevated Enzymes if you're in Louisiana, Houma, and NOLA, and where else are you going?
We're doing April 28th in New Orleans. We're doing April 29th in Houma, Louisiana, and then we are doing April 30th in Malvern, Arkansas.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Those will be listed on my social media soon. You check it out on either Facebook as Billy Rubin and the Elevated Enzymes, or Instagram as Billy Rubin's Elevated Enzymes.
Cool. And like and subscribe, and go to the Demonic Machines Patreon if you want to support what we do. Everyone have a wonderful night.
Quick reminder, don't forget the coupon code Spring Cleaning.
Oh yeah, coupon code Spring Cleaning at demonicmachines.com. 25% off any order over $100.
Ends April 1st.
Right. And let's get a little music to play us out. Just the instrumental version, though. I'm not going to sing during the outro. Well, if it plays.
Oh, hell.
Fuck yeah.
Woo! Bye, y'all. Love y'all.
All right, take it easy, Jesse.
All right, bye.